All right, I'm going to give the introduction here. We got Corey Muscara, pitching coach for the University of Maryland. How you been, man, and what you been doing to keep busy these days?
Believe it or not, I've been extremely busy. I talk to my guys all the time about how they handle adversity and making the best of your opportunities. So for me, I've kind of used it as like a little bit of a reset. My wife has been super into like this health nutrition kick. So I just drank a 32-ounce green smoothie she made me. She's got me like eating different. I really try to make all my work time between like 12 and 4 so I can have more time with my kids, trying to go to bed early every day. So like I just been like trying to do a really good job with routines. The other thing I've invested a lot of time in is understanding ball characteristics a little bit more. So basically understanding TrackMan, Rapsodo, stuff like that, and trying to delve a little bit more into biomechanics. We're doing everything we can right now to try to build a lab at the University of Maryland. So I've had a lot of conversations and talks with that. So that's basically, all my day are filled with all those things I just mentioned right there.
That's awesome. And you're staying proactive, which is great. And I was checking you guys' record out. I mean, 10-5, you guys, you were starting off hot and the team was looking good heading into TCU. I mean, what's that? How does that come from the message from the head coach to those seniors and stuff? I mean, that's got to be heartbreaking to break that news to them.
It is pretty tough. We only had 3 seniors though, and 2 of them one of them's definitely coming back. We're hoping, fingers crossed, the other one comes back. And then
nice.
The other senior still remains to be seen because he had another year of eligibility. So
you're not in that bad of a position.
Yeah, it's just like there's some people, obviously they have 15 seniors or something, like 10 seniors.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get all 3 back, and we'll definitely have at least one. So
well, that's not too bad.
We're a young squad.
Yeah, I had to bring this up because I was doing my homework. I was digging. I was like, Corey Muscara, I was coaching. I was like, I gotta look this guy up. And I saw you were part of that 2009 Franklin Pierce team that won the NE10 there.
Yeah, how did you? That's funny. Where were you at?
Now the big one. I was going back through my glory days, and I was like, 2009. Murata and I were playing at Stack, and we played you guys down in Boca. And that was, I mean, this is vividly just burned into my brain because Mike Adams and Faccisato just battled it out that night. I remember we went 12 innings. I looked up the stat line, 29 Ks. I mean, do you remember that night?
I'm trying to think. Where was that? Was that Florida Atlantic?
I don't know if it was at Florida Atlantic.
Corey, I think it was at the St. Lucia's complex.
Okay. All right. I mean, vaguely I remember. I just remember that week was like we had so many games at one time. They all bunched up together, Like it was like I remember. This is funny, actually. I love Coach King to death. He's one of my biggest mentors. But I warmed up like 6 games in a row for like 3 innings like each game. And then I came into whatever game I pitched, threw 4 innings, and then threw like an inning like 2 days later. So that whole week for me was a blur. I was probably in the bullpen for the majority of whatever game we were playing. And so I can't even remember. Plus, Mike Adams shoved every time he touched the ball.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude,
he had the long hair. He had the skater guy look. And we were like, we'll get this guy. And he, just K-ing us down like crazy.
Maddie, the only reason I remember that game is I had just transferred in from Division I, and I really didn't know about Franklin Pierce. So I get to the field that day. I'm like, who are we playing? Franklin Pierce. I'm looking around. I'm watching the shortstop. I'm like, these guys look good. And then I'm seeing, all right, the shortstop got drafted out of high school in the 13th round. I mean, if you don't know Jason King, what he did with that program was incredible. And, the mentality and stuff that you guys put in, I think, was everything. But the reason I remember it is, facing Adams, and he was like a 70-30 slider guy. And that thing just moved a ton. So I really walked into Division II baseball that day, and it was a rough day.
He made a lot of people feel that way. The game I remember, there's 2 games I remember vividly, like more than any other game for Mike. He matched up against Adelphi, and Adelphi had a kid named Bobby Langan. Who,
third round.
I would say he was like a 3rd rounder maybe.
Yeah.
The Twins took him in the 3rd round, and we ended up winning 1-0. And Adams was sensational. And you want to talk about a pitcher's duel, like, I mean, Langen was like 92, 94, filling it up. Like, we weren't hitting them. It was a wood bat, like 35-degree rainy day, like we always played. And Adams was awesome. So that was a pretty memorable game. And then another game that was really, really good was we went down and played Nova, and they had J.D. Martinez. They had the kid Michaelis, who's with the Cardinals. And Mike Fires wasn't there that year. He got there the following year. But he dominated Nova, and we ended up winning that game. So he was pretty good. I think he was like he led the country in ERA, I think, maybe that year or the year before, something like that. So
yeah, he was a beast. So for kids listening that think you got to throw 92 and fill up the radar gun, just I mean, you learn how to pitch, and again, the word comes back to compete. I mean, that guy was a competitor. When he took the mound, I mean, he just had that swagger. I'm just gonna dominate you guys.
He competed in everything he did. I was his roommate for a year. And
so you know.
Yeah, like there wasn't one thing that
he beat you. He beat you to the showers. He took all the hot water, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I love him, but he was one of the most annoying people ever because every single thing was a competition, you know. But that's why it was great.
That's amazing. So I was listening when you talked about Coach King and the impact. You've had quite the coaching career before getting to Maryland. I mean, you started at Southern New Hampshire, Binghamton, back to Southern New Hampshire, then to St. John's. I mean, you were under a lot of great coaches. And how did they impact the way you coach today and your coaching style?
I mean, it's everything. I can go through every guy, and they all made a profound impact. Man, it would start with Coach King. To this day, he might be the best competitive, like the most competitive guy I've ever met. He just has to win at everything, and it shows. Like when you play with him, like I mean, every practice, his intensity levels through the roof, and he made everything a competition. So for us as players, like I mean, I'll be honest, like you didn't go to Franklin Pierce for the college experience. It was in the middle of the woods.
Yeah,
you went there because you believed in Coach King's system and you wanted to win. And I too went to a Division I school and transferred to Franklin Pierce. So when I went there, like I knew I wanted to coach, and my thought process was I needed to be around somebody that could provide a winning culture. And all you had to do is be around him for like 5 minutes and knew that this guy wasn't going to accept anything less than your best at all times, you know? And that was the biggest takeaway for me with him is like he's on 100% of the time, you know? And then you go to like Sky Loazo, Matt rivals him in terms of competitiveness, but he's got a little bit more – I don't know how to say it. Coach is intense. Scotty's intense too, but Scotty's got a lot more like I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to say he's kind of like it's like glowing. His personality is like infectious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people just want to be around him. And for me, like I've never seen a guy that has as much loyalty from his players as Scotty. Like at times we were there, we had like 55 guys, and guys were never going to get on the field, and they still would never transfer, never even think about leaving, and still worship them. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's unheard of. Yeah.
And I think he did that better than anybody. When I was at Binghamton, I learned so much about like how to recruit and develop relationships and evaluate people from Ryan Herba. He's a genius. Like I can't even tell you how much I learned from him. I learned a lot from Ed Foley, who was a longtime volunteer there, but he was a high school baseball coach for like 35 years. I learned a lot just in terms of like how to plan your practice and how to be organized with your thoughts in that capacity. And then, I mean, Blanky, I don't even know where to start. Like,
yeah,
that guy.
It's a legend.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like every single day, he challenged me. He gave me the autonomy to do a lot of stuff and grow. And I was 25 when I got that job, and I had no business having that job. And he put a lot of responsibility on my plate, but at the same time, like, he held me accountable. Like if he didn't think something was, he let me do everything, and he gave me the opportunity to see if I could figure it out or fail. And he evaluated me, good or bad, on everything I did. And the beauty of him is like, he's so wise. I used to always say this, he's so wise. So like, it was probably the most I grew as a coach was there, because I would go out and try to do something, and I really have no idea. Like the first time I ever called a game ever in my whole life was when we were playing Florida Gulf Coast Game 1 of 2013. Never done it before. I never even did it in scrimmage, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, he let me know what he thought of it, and it wasn't good. You know what I mean? But I learned, and that's how I learned. Same thing with recruiting. Like, I had recruited other places, but when I got there, he basically just let me run and was like, you know, he gave me constant feedback. He trusted me, and
that's awesome.
You know, it was huge.
And I feel like that's huge also in the sense for your players as a coach, right? You need to trust these guys and then give them that feedback, right?
Yeah.
So, I completely agree with what you're talking about.
I think for me, like, so much of success is being able to go out and do, and then usually you fail, and then evaluate it and try to have a game plan to move forward. You know, there's literally no one on this planet that's good at anything that's been good at it from the jump. And if they have, they're not really that good. They're lying to themselves because they haven't been tested.
Yeah.
You know, like, there isn't anybody out there that hasn't failed before they were good at something.
Well, I'm going to relate it to this. I'm like you. I got a 2-year-old and a newborn, and you cannot prepare for that, and you are going to fail miserably at it, and then you get good at it. So, again, like you said, nobody's good at anything. I think it's just kind of you adapt to it and you just grow and you learn from your mistakes. So, and then it's confidence, right? It's all about, hey, I belong here now. I know I can do it. And, you know, I think that's the biggest part. So, Maddie, what do you think? I know you're probably the same way. Maddie was born really good, so I don't know if he's on the same level as us.
No, I mean, just like Corey's saying, I think the best coaches understand, you know, they're not an expert at anything, and, you know, they learn every day. Funny story, you know, I'm in a hotel room with his former head guy, Scotty Loazu, and, you know, just like he's saying, his personality, you know, the way he handles his players, you know, caring about every guy on that roster is everything. So I think, you know, understanding that you're going to learn every day and trying to get better is only going to propel you as a coach. And I would challenge our players to do the same thing, you know, and that's what we try and do, you know, in the facility. What Corey tries to do at Maryland, what you do with your kids is make them understand that it's okay to be challenged. It's okay to fail. You're going to learn more from failure than you're going to learn from success. So, you know, I think everything that Corey's saying is echoing why he is at Maryland, you know, and why he did get the opportunity to call a game at St. John's when, you know, maybe he should have got that job 2 years later. So that really, you know, shows Corey's committedness to this craft. And I've watched Corey at Diamond Nation. You know, I've watched him grind those things out. And that's how you really gain respect, is on the recruiting circuit. So, you know, there's no surprise that Corey's getting rewarded at Maryland and, you know, doing a great job.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right, so this is for the kids, man. They want to know the secret. So let's go with the first question. They want to know what drills you like to use with your staff, Corey.
This is going to be a long answer because this is crazy, but, like, I think the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so I've had drills I've loved at times, and then I've had drills I look back and I'm like, why did we do that? You know, I feel like I'm always saying, why did I do that? So where I'm at in this point in my career, I'm a big believer that you have to assess people. Like, first of all, you have to know everybody's strengths. Okay. So, like, what do they do well? And then you want to make sure that everything you do is directed towards their strength. Okay. So just because something may look wrong, like aesthetically, you look at a delivery and you say, oh, he doesn't block well with his lead leg, or, oh, man, his front side's not good. But maybe what they're doing allows them to have a lot of ride on their fastball, or maybe it allows them to have a lot of run on their fastball, you know, or maybe they have this great slider because of it. Mm-hmm. You have to see, like, A, what do they do well? Then B, if we change something, is it going to take away from their strength? Then the next thing you have to assess, obviously, is what are their weaknesses and how can we make the weaknesses better without affecting the strengths. Okay. So I start from there at all times. And then I think it depends on, like, what are you trying to do? Like, what's the goal of what you're trying to get out of this? If you have a guy whose fastball is north-south, so he gets vertical, like the ball's got ride or carry to it, and his delivery is probably going to predicate that he's more north-south, and his spin axis is probably going to be closer to 12. Okay. So that's generally, like, again, there's a lot of variables that can change all those things, but that's ballpark where you're starting from. then maybe he doesn't have that good of a breaking ball. Okay, maybe his breaking ball is not good, so he needs to improve his separation. In that case, things that I would do, I would color baseballs and try to understand what the spin axis was and how the ball was rotating. I would change his grip. I would use an L screen. This is one of my favorite drills. I'd put an L screen 3/4 of the way down the slope and almost create like a tunnel, and I'd have a target like a bucket or something like that on the plate, and I'd try to have him hit it, throwing it through the L screen that's 3/4 of the way down the runway.
That's smart. I like that.
I use that a lot because it does a lot of things. It allows kids to stay on the ball. It allows them to understand where they need to get through. A lot of times guys will just yank and try to create that break early. And if you're doing that, you're going to hit the L screen, So by doing that, it stays on it. You can see the shape of the ball. We do use Rapsodo. We'll use a camera. Constantly just trying to tinker with the grip there. If he can't get a curveball, then we'll try to go more towards a slider, right? Which again, we'll try to figure out, like, does it need to be a bullet spin slider? Does it need to be more of a cutter? And then we'll tinker from there. For some guys, they might be stuck in like that 130 spin axis, which is kind of the dead zone, right? So you're not really a run guy and you're not really a vertical guy, but maybe you got a good arm, right? So, okay, at 130, what does he do well? Maybe he's got a plus changeup. Maybe he's got a plus slider, right? Okay, great. So can we do something to make his fastball a little bit better? Well, maybe he's at 130 because his front side doesn't allow himself to clear and stay behind the baseball. So with that, like, I might do a TheraBand on his arm connected to another TheraBand on his thigh and feel that extension of the arm. And then I would understand that once I got extension, that's when I was going to clear and I could stay behind the ball better.
I like that.
Those actually do it a lot, and it's really easy to make. For guys that have bad arm action, like maybe their elbow doesn't, their drive line's not good, their elbow doesn't, it kind of has that forearm fly out, if you will. I'm a big believer of those Oats throwing clubs, like the Indian clubs, but the red ones that you can throw. I like those a lot. For guys that like don't get to their release point consistently, I like connection balls. I love athlete drills. Like for certain guys that like have trouble repeating their delivery, we'll do and again, keeping competitive nature in mind, we'll do things like we'll get a 12 pocket and I'll write down like all these different athletic throwing movements. Like, so we'll do like a QB rollout to the arm side or, to the throwing arm side. Then we'll do a bootleg rollout to the glove side, maybe a shortstop 6-hole throw, all these different things, and then have to throw to hit a target. So what I'll do is I'll like be like, hey, bootleg rollout, 6-hole on the 12 pocket, and they have to like be an athlete, move, try to hit the 6-hole, Then we'll do
I love that. Like, so you're breaking out the wedding crashers here. You're going hot route on these guys.
You got to mix it up, And then again, and so here we go off of that, right? So one of the things we talk about a lot is, and this is from Learner Lab, Trevor Reagan. He's got a website. He does a lot of stuff. Really, really good. And I suggest a lot of guys watch it. But one of the things he talks about is random practice, right? So part of the drill in this here is randomizing practice, still staying competitive. And you can do that too by changing the variation of ball. Driveline kind of does this with plus minus differential balls. Like they'll throw flat grounds with like up one or down one balls. Well, we do it sometimes with like lacrosse ball, softball, baseball, plyo ball, football, like while we're doing these drills. Again, so like guys can understand how to like repeat. They understand like kinesthetic awareness, just feel. And so we do that a lot of times at the end of our throwing. We'll do drills like that to try to just keep it competitive, keep it fresh. Those are some of my favorite ones right now, but I don't ever do drills with guys to say like, hey, you should all do it. I don't like that. I think it's got to be like, what are you trying to fix? And then what do they need to work on?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, Maddie and I were just talking about this before you hopped on. We were talking about, I was at Bergen Catholic coaching. I was a hitting guy, obviously, but we had Ryan Ramsey, who's a Terp with you. Chris Gerard was also there. And we were just talking about just letting these guys be athletic and not trying to cookie cut and, let these guys, just find themselves, right? I think that's, like you said, everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, but we don't want to do everything because it's not the same for every single guy. So I couldn't be, more on the same page, as what you're saying.
I think a great example of this, right? Like, look at Clayton Kershaw. anybody that like really understands pitching, like you'd watch Clayton Kershaw's delivery and be like, man, that doesn't seem like his lower half doesn't seem very efficient.
It's funky.
Why is he so good, right? And then you'd put him on like biomechanical analysis and you'd find out that his lower half is wildly inefficient, right? So you sit there and you go, all right, well, let's change his lower half. He'll be even better. Well, hold on a second. Clayton Kershaw in his prime put perhaps the best 4 or 5 year run together of anybody. Like it's literally like him, Pedro, and Sandy Koufax for the best 5 year run statistically in baseball history, right?
Wow.
So you're going to mess with his lower half efficiency of his delivery, which could then maybe take away some of the vertical on his fastball, could take some of the depth away on his breaking ball, could take some away his deception, right? So rather than like try to change that, maybe what you do is you try to do something to keep him healthier, or maybe you do now you know his weakness and you say, okay, well, how does he do the things he does? Well, he's probably overly, he's outstanding or supremely efficient in other areas, right? So then you take that and you go, okay, he does this really well, this is bad. So something in the middle here could be a problem, right? So like that's kind of how, I don't know, like as you get going, like it's not always, it's risk reward, right? Like you don't always want to try to change something because again, like if you make a minor tweak to somebody without having like a full reason behind why you're doing it,
could backfire.
How many times that dome somebody up, right? Like you got this elite performer in one capacity and you're like, and then, Johnny Blowhard comes around and goes, hey, if I fix that, you're going to throw this. And now he's all domed up and he can't throw strikes and you got Rick Ankiel. And you're like, oh, that was cool. I'm glad we did that with that guy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, go ahead, Maddie. Go ahead.
Sorry,
I want to cut you off.
I mean, Corey, this is so refreshing to hear you talk about it. I think too much emphasis gets put on the social media stuff and how every pitcher needs to be cookie cutter. I think it's very easy to look at pitching and say, hey, everyone needs to be the same. But what Corey's really saying is there's so many different X factors. If you make this change, what is this now going to do to his slider? Maybe he lands an inch close, but what does that do to his depth? What are the other X factors there? I think so many times, we try to make so mechanical changes with these guys and then they lose their mechanics. I mean, these are athletes. If you can get them to feel, if you can get them to repeat, if you can challenge them, they're going to do what they're meant to do. And that's be athletes. If they're thinking about two things on the mound, I mean, they're done. I mean, Corey, you've done it, you've coached it. If you're thinking about anything but dominating and executing, I mean, you're already done. I know you're a huge mental guy. Could you just give us maybe 1 minute on, how you kind of challenge your players, how you've really grown to push them, in the way that you do?
Yeah, I actually just got asked this question about an hour and a half ago when I was on the phone with a recruit. They said, what's your philosophy in pitching?
And that was our next question, so perfect. Shoot away.
It ties into both. So for me, it's very, very simple. You have to believe that what you have is good enough. So, and that's the basic premise of it. But to really, really fully 100% believe in it, you have to know what makes you you. And with that comes down to like when you throw a pitch, like where's your best chance for success, right? Rather than like so many times in my career, I've like broken down the hitter, what's the hitter's weakness, this and that, right? But as we get more into data and we learn more about all this stuff in baseball, that's not what they do in the big leagues anymore. They say, hey, you have this pitch, it's really excellent, you should throw it here 80% of the time. Here's why I love that, because it goes right into the mental game. It's you versus you. Okay, so you have to get every other thought out of your head. You have to have a good pre-pitch plan that allows you to clear distractions. You have to allow yourself to be 100% convicted and believe in every pitch you're going to throw. And the way it works is like, okay, I have a fastball that is pretty good. I should throw it to this quadrant and this quadrant here. And I should throw it to those two places at a high frequency. If I want to go to this quadrant down here, right, then I should throw my changeup or whatever. If I'm left-handed, I should throw my slider. So when you're trying to think about the holes and weaknesses to get guys out, you throw your pitches to their best location strategies. And when you want to go to different spots, you throw a different pitch. Gone are the days of like, hey, I'm going to backdoor a two-seamer, then I'm going to do this with my fastball. People aren't doing that anymore. That's not how the game's being played right now. It's like, hey, my fastball's got right. I'm going to work in the upper half of the zone. Hey, I want to get to his back foot. I'm going to throw a cutter. You know what I mean? Hey, I want to get down and away. I'm throwing my changeup or whatever it may be. You know, what I love about that is you're simplifying the game for people. You're doing all your training based on like, how do you replicate pitches? How do you stay within yourself? How do you trust yourself? And then when it's in compete mode, which is what we all talk about, the competition is get rid of all the distractions. Don't think about anything else. Get all that crap out of the way and get all your mental process on executing this pitch. If I can believe 100% in this pitch, it doesn't matter who else is in the box, doesn't matter who's in the stadium, doesn't matter anything, then I'm going to be all right. Now, the key is like, how do you get to that? Well, there's so many tools you use, right? You can replace thoughts because there's so much negative energy out there. There's so many negative thoughts. Oh, I can't walk this guy, right? I got to do this right now. That's what dooms everybody, you know? But there's people that are in the positive thinking boat. There's people that are in the neutral thinking boat. There's people that use breathing. There's people that use meditation, that use pre-pitch routine, that use visualization. I try to like dabble in all of it because I think everybody's different. So like, I'll give you a great example. I was on the phone with this kid right before this call. Our best arm called me up at the end of last year and told me that he hated the way we do visualization and he thought it was eyewash. Point blank. It kind of hit me in the gut because I'm such a big believer in visualization. I make guys do meditation, visualization, or mental practice for 10 minutes at the start of every practice. So basically he was like, I think that one of your fundamental foundational philosophies is eyewash. And I was like, it's my best picture. Like, what do I do? You know? And it kind of shook me a little bit. And I was like, all right, maybe I got to cater to this guy, whatever. And so I made some adjustments. I changed how I teach it. I changed some different things. The irony is he had trouble throwing strikes in the fall. He had trouble throwing strikes in the preseason. And we got him to believe in like what his location strategy was. We got him to be really mindful on everyday throwing. And then eventually, like once he started to really pay attention to it and get good at it, he was basically a one-pitch guy, and he dominated with one pitch. Wow. But then when he knew that he had that one pitch, he got really into visualization. So what he would do is like we had this whole routine. It's so ironic. The guy who was out on visualization became like one of the biggest parts of his game. Well, what happened was like we would visualize on Thursday night. Friday, he'd be like doing the book or whatever, paying attention to the hitters. He'd visualize again on Friday night. Then Saturday, he'd really visualize the lineup and like see where he was trying to throw the ball. And then Sunday before a game, he'd do the same thing. So he'd visualize that team and what he was trying to do like 6 times before he played them. And lo and behold, his strike percentage started to go up. He started to believe in that singular pitch. And he kind of dominated the 4 starts he had this year. So
I'll tell you what, I've been visualizing this interview for days, and it's going money. So it works, guys. You got to stick with it.
There you go.
Which brings me to my next question. What is the message to your pitchers after a tough loss?
You got to get back on the horse. Like
I love it.
Like literally, the way I look at it is like we just talked about failing, right? Like I was like, my thing is this. It's how you we do E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. Like we talk about it all the time. Like that's all we talk about. But if your players don't think you're going to give them a chance to respond, they don't think they're going to have the opportunity to respond, they're going to be scared as hell the next time they go out there. Yeah. So a lot of times when guys don't perform, I go, hey, like you got to get back out there. Like you didn't go well today. You know, what can you do to change it next time? You know, how was your preparation, right? Assess your preparation. Was your preparation good? Yeah, it was great, coach. Okay. How about in between the lines? What were you thinking out there? Did your mind get in the way of your performance? Did your mind get in the way of allowing you to execute? Yeah, maybe it did. Or no, it was good. Okay. So what was the problem then? You know, and then so you self-assess. One of the things we talk about is like a debrief, you know, like we debrief after we're done. From there, you have a plan, like assess your plan going forward. And a lot of it has to be, you got to get back on the field and play again, you know, and sometimes, you know, you don't always get that opportunity, right? Like sometimes the guy is low man on the depth chart and he gets out there and really stinks and he doesn't get out there for 4 or 5 weeks again. That happens, you know?
Yeah.
But that's where you got to be brutally honest with guys and be like, hey man, like I love you. I'm going to keep working with you. You are guy number 14 on the depth chart right now. So you can't control that. Our perception of you is 14 on the depth chart right now, but what you can control is what you can do tomorrow to get better. So let's have an action plan. Let's assess where we went wrong, and let's do everything in our power to be ready for our next opportunity. Guys that are like 7, 8, 9 on the depth chart, they know they're getting back out there. They got to. Guys that are 1, 2, 3, 4, they're definitely getting back out there. So they got to get over it quick, you know?
Yeah. I'm a big Coach K guy. I love watching him and his style of coaching, and he's always like next play. That's his thing. So, right, it's like it's over, next play, next game, whatever it is, you can't look in the past. So I'm big on that too. Maddie, what about you? What's your message to your guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing when you're dealing with athletes and kids is they put expectations on themselves. You know, I've been in college, you know, my number one's getting ready for his senior year, and he wants to go, you know, 9-0. And sometimes, you know, you get a bad shake early, and he's 0-1, you know, against a higher level team where we might not have hit. So I think the biggest thing that I tell my guys, the biggest thing for me, you know, was understand that there's going to be a goal each inning. Like, yes, maybe my goal was to throw a shutout. But when I give up that one run, too many times these guys go, all right, wheels are about to fall off. Then right there, you make a new goal. Hey, my shortstop just made an error. Now they scored a run. Am I going to show that guy up? No. Your mentality has to be like nothing changed. You're never getting affected. So, you know, as big as the physical talent is, like I tell this to people all the time. I'm a good pitching coach. I'm a better psychiatrist. You know, I think the control center is everything. So perfect example. If I'm a pitcher, I'm on the mound, coach calls a 1-2 breaking ball. If I don't have confidence in that breaking ball, if I'm not telling the control center, hey, I'm going to throw that breaking ball right here and visualize, you know, what are you doing? You know, you're basically just setting yourself up to fail. Hey, I hope I throw this pitch for a strike. You know, are you going to repeat there? So I think confidence, understanding, you know, what you can do, you know, understanding that if you're in a flat ground, it's just not mindless throwing. So, like, the biggest thing that I try and challenge my guys with is, you know, if you're going to throw a short box after long tossing and it's 45 feet and it might be, you know, a day after you throw or, you know, whatever it may be, challenge yourself to be 8 of 8 on 1-2 breaking balls. You know, challenge yourself to change eye level on fastballs. I feel like kids get too much, all right, hey, I want to be down in the zone, down in the zone, down in the zone. But if you can change eye levels and be both and get this as well as that, you know, it makes hitting a nightmare. So I think you challenge them, you know, you try and make them realistic with their goals. But the biggest advice that I give to athletes, and my kids ask me all the time, I had a very good senior year. You know, the stats were there. I ended up being conference pitcher of the year. So I think that helped me relate to my athletes and they would really buy in or trust, you know, what I was telling them. But the biggest thing that I told them was I didn't look at the stats the whole year. I just competed within the game. You know, once the first inning started, how can I win the game? You know, it doesn't matter if I give up 3 runs, 2 runs, 4 runs. You know, where is my team in this game? You know, I think if you can continue to compete, you lose a lot of those crooked numbers, you know, when the focus isn't there. So I think mentality is everything. You know, telling the control center, hey, this is what I want to do, go do it.
Yeah, so let me awesome. I love a lot of things you talked about there, but there's 2 pieces to it I really want to talk about. You talked about playing catch, right? I heard this from a buddy of mine, so sorry for stealing it, but everything I learned is from somebody else. But basically, if you think about it, how long do you throw for in a given day? Your whole day, like start to finish, first throw of warming up, playing catch to the last throw. Is it 20 minutes? Some days it's 15 minutes. Maybe it's a half hour sometimes, right? Is that fair? You really
yeah.
More than that, obviously in the game. But if you just took like the actual amount of time you're throwing pitches, not the whole 2 hours of the game, it's never really more than that, right? So I tell my guys, and I've said this before, but like if it's 15 or 20 minutes in a day, there's 24 hours in a day. What percentage of your day is that? Like, what are we talking about? Like 5%, 1%? I don't even know, but it's not a very high percentage of your day. And if that's the most important thing you do in a given day, can you give it 95, 100% commitment or focus for 1% of your day? If you want to be a great pitcher, if you want to be an elite pitcher, can you put all your focus into that 1%? The problem is, we all see this, there's so many throws that are wasted in a given day. At every level, guys will throw the ball warming up and like there's no plan for that pitch. One of the big things that we talk about is like you have to have an action plan that you can quickly assess for everything you do, right? That's why you need a pre-pitch plan. That's why you need to have focus on what you're doing. And we've all done it. How many times have we made a throw and there's absolutely no commitment to what it is? So I challenge guys to think that way. Like, you got 1% of your day. Can you give 100% of focus for 1% of your day? And then the other thing you talked about is –
I couldn't agree more.
like, make the game simple, right? Like, we always talk about, like, yeah, we want to do all these things. You want to get drafted. You want to throw hard. Okay, what's in your power to control right now? Book that our whole coaching staff either has read or is currently reading, and I've referenced this on a couple podcasts I've done, is It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. But his big thing is neutral thinking and being in the moment. And you really can't control anything other than the moment, right? So, like, what you did in the past and what you got going on in the future, no one really has any control over. So in a game of baseball, the moment is always the pitch. There's all the phrases out there, the one pitch warrior, be professional pitch executors. These are all different phrases that people use, but it all comes down to what's in your power now? This pitch. Okay, that's gone. What's in your power now? This pitch. That's gone, So if you can be elite and you're not wasting any time in your throwing program every day, and you can be elite on really focusing on this pitch and this pitch only, regardless of what your stuff is, you got a chance, You got a chance right there, because that's the hardest part.
Corey, I think we lost you.
Am I still here? Are we good?
Corey, I see you.
Good?
Hold on, let's see. Corey, it's so refreshing to talk to a pitching guy, who understands. I feel like there's so many cookie cutters out there, but, everything you're saying is so spot on. I mean, my first year as a college pitching coach, I wanted them to lock in. I wanted them to focus. So I had them use plates. We'd long toss with plates. Everything they would do was showing them that visual of a plate. They could, when they're throwing their two-seam from, 90 feet, they still see the plate. I think giving them those visuals and challenging them, just like you're saying, gets them out of mindless throwing.
Yeah, it's how consistent can you be with that? And that's really all it ever is. And I love visuals. That's why I use the L screen, Sometimes we'll do the same thing with changeups at like we'll go 120 feet and we'll put up a 12 pocket, and I'll draw lanes that I want them to throw the changeup through. And I'll almost map out the pattern of the changeup just so they can see what it is to stay on it and see the action they want out of it. So
that's awesome. Is Matty back yet?
I don't see him on here. It looks like he had some bad service or something.
Let me try and add him. Hold on one sec, Corey. What do you got for the rest of the day?
After this, I just got to put some notes in for all the good calls I have today and go spend time with the family.
There you go. I couldn't agree more. I'm doing the shakes. Like, I'm a routine guy. I can kind of see that you're the same way.
I've been bad at
this is the most balance I've had in 10 years.
Yeah, and like for me, like I've always wanted to, but I've been bad. Like I teach it, I preach it, I haven't lived it, and so I'm trying to do it. But the only reason I can do it at all is because my wife is like unbelievable. Like, she's like so stubborn, she's so committed to things, and she won't deviate. And she'll make you feel terrible about not doing it just simply because her commitment to it's so good that you look in the mirror and go, wow, I'm a schmuck. Like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm a schmuck. Like if I did it half as good as her, I'd be good. And so that she's basically just she's coaching me up. You know what I mean?
I think that's the competitor in you. And I think you're a lot like me. Like, we preach it, but at the end of the day, and our athletes see it, we care about them over us. So we might not every day get time, 20, 30, 40 minutes to work out. It might be a recruiting call. It might be a FaceTime. It might be talking to our players. So, I think it's just a testament to, where your focus is and how much, you've really done at Maryland. Talk to me a little bit about the recruiting class. I think you guys were top 20 this year. I mean, what is that like? Your coaching staff, your head guy, Is that more of a group effort? Is it more, hey, you're looking at pictures? How do you guys handle that at the University of Maryland?
It's a group effort. We try to have everybody involved. I think one of the things that we really try to put a premium on is figuring out the right guys. So every coach on our staff talks to everybody. And after every conversation, we all discuss it. We all kind of put our notes in there and talk about, the questions we ask them, what we think of them. When we're recruiting guys, we give them homework assignments, and we're constantly trying to get them to. The homework assignments are usually either finding out more about our program, or, hey, I want you to go watch this video with this author, Simon Sinek, or, hey, I want you to go look up Trevor Reagan in the Learner Lab and pick out your favorite video and let me know which one it is. And we'll talk about that next week. We try to be more interactive for a couple of reasons. One, it allows them to see what we care about, how we coach, and what we believe. Two, it allows us to see how they think. So often you're recruiting kids that are so young and everybody talks at them. So you don't really get an opportunity to hear what's inside of their minds, and this gives them an opportunity to talk. Also, when you talk to kids this young, they're not very good on the phone. They don't really talk. So you don't get anything out of them. You're just everyone just gives them the same sales pitch all the time. Hey, my school is this, and we're in this conference, and we have these facilities. You want to come? And it's going back to Simon Sinek, we talk about Simon Sinek a lot, but for us, it's people don't care what you do or how you do it. They believe in why you do it. That's what motivates people. And so we make all our recruits watch that, and we talk about what we believe in. We believe in developing kids. We believe in building character. We believe in our culture. And we love that because at the end of the day, look, John Wooden coached for, I think it was 16 years before he won a national title. You can go on for days. There's so many great coaches out there that coached for so long before they won anything. And if we're in it to just win national championships and that's the only goal, then we're probably not going to be that fulfilled at the end of the day. Do I want to win a national championship? Yeah, you're damn right I do. But I think it's a byproduct of your process. It's how you treat your guys. It's what you try to do to learn. It's what you do to make yourself better. And if you can invest all your time in things that you can control there, then eventually you're going to put together a pretty good product. So when we recruit, we're trying to find guys that believe in what we believe. It's okay. You don't have to come to Maryland because we're the sexiest school or the best ranked school. If that's what you're looking for, don't come here. We don't have the best facilities in the world. It's okay. We don't have the best conference in the country. It's okay. But at the end of the day, when I turn on a TV and I watch a major league game, JD Martinez went to Nova Southeastern. Blake Trinan went to South Dakota State. They don't even have baseball anymore. So all these people go to different places and they're all from different walks of life. Baseball is the one sport where you can get there from different avenues, And for me, when I see guys that are successful, the number one characteristic they have is how they respond to all the troubles that they're going to face, all the adversities they're going to face. In order to do that, you need opportunity. You need people to believe in you. I was asked the other day, what do you think my potential can be? Someone asked me this, and I said, honestly, you're extremely talented. You're as talented as any kid I've ever seen your age. You're right there with everybody. So your potential is going to be defined by the choices you make every day. It's very simple. And it comes down to every choice. It's every choice you make. Are you going to get enough sleep? Is your sleep quality going to be good enough? What are you going to eat for food? How much are you going to eat? When are you going to eat? What are you going to read? Are you going to learn? Do you want to learn? How are you going to do in school? Do you want to learn a new pitch? You're going to be open to coaching and learning a new pitch. What are you going to do in the weight room? Now, they're all your choices, right? And that's what's cool about baseball is you can really change the trajectory of your career by the choices you make. That's pretty hard if you're a football player, and maybe some can, I don't know. But I think it's pretty hard for a guy who's a 4.9 40 guy to all of a sudden be a 4.2 guy. It's such a metrics game. It's such a big physicality game. Our sport is so mental, and you can change your metrics like that, by a different technique or a body development or whatever, you know? So that was another long-winded answer. I got to be more precise. But,
Corey, listen, I mean, this is great for the kids. You know, I know you guys are actively recruiting. Can you kind of paint more of a picture, you know, of how much you guys recruit? Like, how many given kids do you guys see in a summer, whether it be showcase events, whether it be high-level tournaments, whether it be Maryland camps? You know, can you kind of paint a picture of, you know, how many athletes you guys are really evaluating? And at a school like Maryland, you can't be wrong 2 out of 5. You know, you have to be right on these guys, and you have to compete with a lot of the bigger schools who are recruiting earlier. So we've talked about it on the phone before. Talent's great. You know, when that talent is mixed with mentality, I think that's everything. So, you know, just kind of talk about that. Like, what is the full Maryland recruit? It's not just talent. You know, it's not just SATs.
yeah, I mean, well, the first part of the question is we try to stay within our wheelhouse geographically. So we recruit Maryland and the Northeast. You know, like that's where we are. We're starting to dabble a little bit more into Virginia, but we don't go there a lot. And we're starting to kind of a little bit dabble in North Carolina, but that's just more circumstantial than anything. So that's the first thing. So we try to stay in like our niche area, and I would say within that area we see most of the best players. I hate using rankings. I'm not a fan of them, but it's usually easier to explain it to people when you're trying to quantify things. So I would say that we see almost every player in every class in the top 30 or 40 in all the states I mentioned, Maryland North. You know, if you're ranked by PBR perfect game in those areas, we see all those guys play. Or at least we know about them. You know, we might miss a guy or two, or, you know, here and there we might miss a couple. But for the most part, you see most of those guys. And you see them all at different times. You either see them before they're committed, before they're ready to commit, after they're committed. But generally, you see them. What that does is it allows us, if you track it consistently, it allows you to kind of get like a little bit of a database in your mind of like where guys are at certain times. And, you know, it kind of allows you to have an understanding of if no one knows who they are yet, where they fit with others. And that whole piece is good. Like it's good to identify people. It's good to understand where they are from a talent perspective, because that's definitely a component. You have to have talent. But the reality of it is if we're only recruiting in those areas, we recruit 4 to 6 pitchers a class. We recruit anywhere from 1 to 3 infielders in a class. We usually recruit 1 catcher a class, and we'll recruit 1 or 2 outfielders. So every class we have will be anywhere from 8 to 12 guys in it, ballpark, never really more or less. And that hopefully allows us to stay within the numbers we need to be in. It also allows us to have balance. By the way, a lot of this philosophy is from Coach Blankmeyer. I learned a lot of that from him. You asked a question about, like, what do you take away from coaches? Blanky kind of helped me with that. Did I lose you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. It's just frozen. I didn't know if I lost you.
Yeah, I don't know if Matt. Hold on one second. Let me just see if Matt, are you there? Matt, are you there? Oh boy.
God, like my kid tripped over the Wi-Fi and totally knocked us out.
All right.
You still on?
Yeah, the kids.
Gotcha.
Wait, so what did I miss? I think I missed literally like 20 minutes.
We were just kind of talking about recruiting and a little bit about, you know, the process, how Maryland recruits, and how many guys they see.
Yeah, and to finish that thought, right? So, like, after you assess the talent piece, then we kind of try to get them to understand like I was saying before, what we believe in and what we care about. And then we find the guys that personalities match up with what we're believing in the most. You know, and I think every class you have to have kind of like your alpha personalities, and you have to have like your guys that are maybe not the leader, if you will be, but They're really talented. They do this skill well. Another quote I'll take from Coach Blankmeyer that I think is really important is he used to say this all the time. He'd be like, look, you don't want to go to the zoo and see like 5 elephants in a row, 5 giraffes in a row. You want to see the elephant, the tiger, the lion, the alligator. You want to see all the animals. I think it's a great way of looking at it, because when you put a team together, you want all different types of personalities. You have to understand how the personalities mesh together. You want all different styles of players. You don't want all right-handed hitters that have pull-side juice. You want the guys that can stay inside the ball and run a little bit. You want your lefties, your righties. You want your athletes. You want your boppers. And one of the ways we do that, and I won't go into this, is because this is like kind of Coach Vaughn's thing, but he has what he calls the pack offense. And when he talks about the pack offense, he's trying to find guys positionally that fit into each style of player, and it's the same thing for pitchers. Like, I don't want all righties to throw 95. Like, I want my sidearm guy, and I want my guys with vertical. I want my guys with sink and horizontal. I want my lefties, So we try to find it from a holistic model of different types of players at different positions, and then we try to find personalities that are different. We like to have at least one alpha per class, and we want to find guys that believe in what we believe, and we keep it that simple,
I actually got a question from the hitting standpoint, because I'm a hitter. With the adjustment of the strike zone now, and everyone's trying to get into the launch angle, is that something as a pitching guy you guys like to attack now, knowing that, hey, we can get that high strike and these guys are working on that launch, compared to that old school mentality of kind of working down, hitting line drives? Kids are being taught more now with the hit tracks to get more of that launch angle to get the ball out of the ballpark.
So again, it has to be to the strengths. I'm not going to get my sinker guy to pitch up in the zone, because then he'll get destroyed. If I got a guy that has spin and high sink, and he's not going to get up in the zone. If I got a guy that has good vertical, we're going to live middle up. So we don't really pitch to the hitter. We pitch to their strengths. Whatever they do well, we just abuse it, and then we try to have something else in their arsenal that will complement, like the opposite, if you will. So if you get vertical, we're going to want to get something that can get negative. If you get, really east, we want something that can go really west, And if you're just like right in the hot area, well, we better do something to make you more unique, So, and then on top of that, though, to answer your question, like a little bit, like in college baseball, the strike zone isn't as vertical as it is in pro ball. In professional baseball, You don't get a centimeter off the plate. Like, everything's on the plate. However, they really do a good job of letting you go to the numbers, to the high part of the strike zone. They'll give you the higher strike. And so much of professional baseball is about trying to acquire guys that can get vertical, because it's more of a north-south zone. And, there's so many guys that are getting, that launch angle swing, I guess you want to call it. Whereas in college baseball, it's still a little bit more of a horizontal strike zone, right? You're going to still get 2 or 3 inches off the plate if a guy sits up there and sticks it. So I don't care what your stuff is. If you're throwing with no action and you throw 90 miles an hour and you're going to get 3 inches off the plate, no one's hitting it, So a lot of it goes to, like, what is the umpire strike zone? What can your guy do well? What can you execute at a high frequency? And then whenever you assess those things, you attack those weaknesses that way. Also, last piece,
I love that.
I think that in college baseball, there's more guys that still try to stay inside the ball and try to stay flatter, because certain college coaches have that as their philosophy. So you see that more. It's kind of like, that's how we swing. You still kind of see that. Well, they might have the private instructor that might teach that, versus, like, there's still college coaches that do that. I think ideally, in a perfect world, you'd want to have swings like Alex Bregman. Now obviously it helps that he knows what pitch is coming.
I was just going to say that.
But, like, at the same time, like, you see him get on top of balls and be super flat, and then you'll see him go down and get balls and have 2 different swings. Like, that's ultimately where the game's going to go, I think. And we'll see if he can do that with the same type of success he's had. If he doesn't know what's coming, maybe he can't. You know what I mean? I don't know. But
Matty, I think, like Corey's saying, just like the hitters have adapted, with getting into their lower half and maybe handling a down action pitch now, because they're getting to the ball a little bit differently. Now pitchers are starting to go up in the zone. You as a hitter, this is a tough pitch to lay off of. And even if you hit it, you might hit it 360 to the center fielder. So, understanding that you can change eye level, like understanding that hitters will try and do more, when they light up. So if you can get that ball up and in, or in a spot and then combat that with slider down and away, you're changing eye level. So, I think that's a big point is, as much as hitters are making adjustments, now the pitchers are starting to do it, and you're seeing in the major leagues, this pitch right here is very easy to light up and get aggressive. And maybe, you're trying to get here, your barrel drops, versus you squaring it up and hitting a line drive. So, I think it's great that, there's this ongoing competition, with pitchers and hitters in the major leagues. I mean, with the analytics, with everything else. I mean, Corey, you've touched on it. They're studying different things. All right, hey, here's a right-hander. He might be 80% of the time, in this quadrant of the plate, whether it be fastball or slider, you might be sitting on a certain pitch. But the one thing that you said, and I actually learned from Scotty Loazu one night after a game and just talking to him was, pitch to their strengths. Not every guy, might be 90 miles an hour like you and can pitch backwards, throw the slider for a strike and a strikeout. You have to pitch to their strengths, versus the hitter's weakness, because there's conviction. So, once I did that, I thought it was so much easier and it made so much more sense. Like, instead of me having one of my guys throw their third best pitch in a spot, let him attack a pitch he's comfortable with. Let him get bad contact. Let him throw a pitch that, he can make look like a strike in a 1-2 count and then get out of the zone. Let him throw a high percentage pitch. And what I mean by high percentage pitch is, and I tell this to my guys all the time, a high percentage pitch is a pitch that you can make look like a strike and gets out of the zone. Get good at throwing high percentage pitches. As much as you want to throw balls in the zone for strikes, we want to make balls look like strikes and get out of the zone, because why is it a high percentage pitch? If that ball is going to get out of the zone and he takes a swing, maybe he's a 300 hitter. Now his odds of getting a hit, go from 1 to 10 or even less, and it's going to be bad contact, or it's going to be bad contact in a spot where maybe they're second and third. So I think there's just so much to it. And Corey, I mean, you could talk all day about pitching, which is great for the kids, but everything you're saying is just so spot on, so refreshing.
Well, to your point, Justin Verlander, I believe, led baseball last year in the zone percentage at like 48 or 49%, which meant like 48-ish percent, 49% of his pitches thrown were in the actual strike zone. So over half the pitches he threw weren't even in the strike zone.
Right.
His strike percentage was in the high 60s. So to your point, right there, the numbers don't lie,
I think you got to enjoy that chess match always between pitchers and hitters, right? Everyone's just trying to figure each other out, and I think that's the fun part about this game. Is I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I'm glad I was able to hop back on. Thanks to my son for knocking my Wi-Fi out. But Maddie, always we like to end this podcast with Murata's Moneyball question. So I'm going to let Maddie take us home here.
All right, Corey, I got one serious question for you and one non-serious question. So I'll start with the serious question. One of my guys just got recruited by the University of Maryland. He committed. He's going to go there. Now that person, I feel like, put himself in a great spot to be seen. If you're talking to any of these guys, him, for example, played for a great club team. Jim Wadaka Baseball. I mean, obviously, Jim. I'm very close with Jim. Putting yourself in the right place to succeed is everything. Did he do every event under the sun? No. He put himself in a few events that, gave him the opportunity to be seen and understood that this wasn't the finish line. There's things that he needs to work on. I mean, an hour after he committed, he called me, and I was honest with him. I said, listen, enjoy this for a few hours, and then tomorrow, you're back to work. And I was honest with him. I said, these are the things that we need to still continue to work on. But one of the biggest things is understanding the process. Too much is almost a bad thing as well. So if I'm a recruit, I'm in New York, New Jersey, what's the best way to be seen by a Maryland? Is it the camp route? I'm a person that loves the camp route just because, listen, if you go to University of Maryland camp, and you're 92 miles an hour from the left side, you might have a conversation, depending on what year you are, depending on a lot of different things. But it gives the players a feel for the coaches, how they coach, being with the hitting coach, being with the pitching coach. So, what's a good balance in your eyes, showcase, events, tournaments, that you've seen?
Great question. I think kids have to go to camps for a lot of reasons right now. One, you can't take an unofficial visit until September 1st of your junior year anymore. So if you don't go to college camps, technically you don't unless you're going on your own, you don't really get to see campuses. Also, you're not allowed to have conversations with kids anymore until September 1st of your junior year. So how do you talk to coaches? You don't know really what they believe in or how you mesh with them. I think the other thing is you go to a camp, you can see if it's recruiting driven or they're actually trying to teach you. If you're lucky enough to go to a camp where they put player development and teaching as a priority, then you're hopefully going to get to understand something about what that person believes or the system or how they do things. I also think that camps are generally more affordable, and it's more of a direct target to what you're looking for. Something I tell everybody is if you were to go into a guidance counselor and they were to say, regular person not going to play sports, where do you want to go to college? The guidance counselor would say, you got to have 5 schools that are your reach schools. You got to have 5 that are your fit that you profile into, and you got to have 5 safety schools, or sometimes it's 3, 3, and 3, and then you do your homework on that. Kids need to figure out where they fit. So they have to have an honest assessment of what they are and who they are as a player. And you need to do the same thing. And for athletes, it's twofold. It's where do you fit athletically and where do you fit academically? So if you do both of those things, then you can now say, okay, well, let's target the schools that are my reach schools. Let's only go to their camps. Let's target the schools that I fit into. Let's only go to theirs. Let's only target the safety. That's a good way to start. If you're going to target those schools, everybody gets a million emails. Don't put time and effort into it. Do something that's going to catch the person's eye. If you get 100 emails a day, what's going to allow yours to stand out? So do your homework and research and put time and effort into that. And then in terms of, I think always playing competitive games is important. I think playing at things at Diamond Nation are good just because they're, especially for Northeast kids, because there tends to be a little bit more centralized. Like a lot of coaches are there. It's a little bit more bang for your buck. But I'm not as big as like how do you get seen. I'm more big into how do you develop. Right. Because if you get good, I mean, listen, if you're legit, like if you can really throw the ball and you send somebody a video where you're 90-92 with a plus breaking ball, they'll find you. They'll come get you. You can be whatever. We'll come get you. You got a beautiful swing and you got all this game footage of you just hitting linea after linea, all right, that kid's swing's pretty good. I want to see that kid. I'm going to go see him, So I think rather than everyone's focus is on where do I go to get seen. Well, there's also a problem with when you're not good yet, when you're not very good and you're spending all of your time and money and resources on being seen on what travel team you're on. Then you go to that travel team, you get seen, you're not any good, no one recruits you, and you're mad. It's the travel coach's fault because you didn't get recruited. Well, what about the fact that you're not good yet? So why don't you just figure out how to get better? And if you get better, then maybe you'll attract the things that you want. See, getting better is in your control. Having someone see you and like you, out of your control. So control what you can, get better. You want to get a look by someone you like, figure out who you like, and go get seen by that person at that school. Figure them out. Do your homework.
Doesn't get any more money than that. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Corey, just everything that you're saying, I'm a believer in the development. If I'm an athlete, yeah, I might throw 90 miles an hour. That's great. But what are my weaknesses? Can I be honest with myself? Can I turn my weaknesses into strengths in the off season? I think they're talented kids, but they're talented kids that say, okay, I'm talented. I've always done it this way. Hey, I really don't handle the breaking ball down and away very well. Oh, it's okay. I crushed the fastball. Well, why not work on that for 2 months? So when the season rolls around, you've now turned that weakness into a strength and just become a better overall player. So, I couldn't agree more.
To go off that, right? Everybody's watching The Last Dance right now. The 3 superstars. Scottie Pippen went to an NAIA school and was the manager. Dennis Rodman went to a D2 school, okay? And Michael Jordan, everyone always makes a big deal about the fact that he was cut. But let's break this down for 1 second. He was cut from his high school varsity team as a sophomore, and as a junior, he was first team All-State. That's remarkable.
That's development right there.
Yeah, and then as a senior, he was a McDonald's All-American. So he went from, let's look at this track record. Didn't make the team, All-State, McDonald's All-American. Freshman year, game-winning shot in the national championship game. Does that happen anymore? No. Everyone goes, oh, I got cut. It's the coach's fault. I'm going to change schools. And then, they don't get better. Scottie Pippen was the manager at NAIA school. He's one of the 50 greatest players to ever play the game. How many people right now would be a manager at an NAIA school and be like, you know what? I'm going to be one of the 50 best to ever do it. Probably not many, because they want instant gratification. So
Corey's giving me the chills. I'm about to put on a Terp jersey right now and just get ready to go.
That's the greatest team to ever step on any sport. That's the greatest basketball team ever, and they had 3 misfits to go on to be 3 of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Yeah.
But Corey, like you're saying, there's a routine to this. There's, okay, hey, I might be on the treadmill at 10 o'clock at night. I might be doing my arm care. I might be doing my mobility stuff. Trust in the preparation that you've done, and then everything on the field takes care of itself. Give yourself that mental edge. That's what Jordan had, is he worked his tail off, and once the game started, he trusted in his ability. He wasn't nervous. He knew he was more prepared. So I think challenging our athletes to be more prepared are just going to prepare them for the bigger stage.
Yeah.
Because there's just more that goes into it. You look at the NFL. I love this. I love talking to my pitchers about this. I was a guy that would play Monday morning quarterback. Myself. Why not?
The menace is. What are you saying? The menace is here, boys. He came to bust the interview up.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, say what's up. You ready to be a Terp or what, man? He's ready to rock and roll.
I love it. We got to get a
red
jersey on him.
Corey,
he wants Murata's funny question.
All right. Corey, you have the nickname Moose. Is that a player's nickname or a coaching nickname?
To be honest, my last name is Muscara, and so everybody just calls men in my the nickname is Moose for my family last name. So when I played, I didn't really have a nickname. At Franklin Pierce, they called me Horse for a while, and it's not for anything weird or anything like that. It's because I was kind of crazy with my work ethic, so they called me Horse. And then when I got into coaching, a lot of my players just called me Coach Moose, and then it just stuck. The other thing is Blanky makes everybody have a nickname. So when I got to St. John's, people didn't really call me Moose that much. And the first day I was there, all the players said, hey, everybody has to have a nickname. What's yours? And I was like, I guess Moose. Everybody calls me Coach Moose, and then that's it. No one calls me anything else anymore.
Well, for you, Corey, I could see how that works, because I don't know if people really know you're 6'3", 2 something. Am I right?
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm a little skinnier. I was 245.
We nickname Murata the Horse, because that's just the dance moves once he pops into the club scene.
There you go.
Yeah, we had the same nickname. I feel like stepbrothers. We just become best friends right now.
Oh, my gosh. Corey, man, I appreciate you doing this. This was awesome, and hopefully you play some schools up here so we could come check you guys out and root you guys on.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Corey, man. Stay safe.
All right. You too.
Take care.
Bye, guys.